They thought you were just another face in the crowd. Ordinary, fragile, easy to break. But what they couldn't see was that Allah had already honored you in the unseen. Your strength wasn't loud, your faith wasn't for show, and your silence was filled with divine power. They underestimated you because they didn't know the depth of your connection with Allah. They tested you with betrayal, with pressure, with doubt. But instead of breaking, you turned inward, toward your Lord. You didn't react with anger. You responded with sabr. You didn't chase revenge. You raised your hands in dua. And when they saw that their test didn't move you, they began to wonder, who is this person whose soul stays calm in chaos? That's when they realized, too late, that your strength didn't come from this world. It came from the heavens. Allah was your guardian, your witness, your protector. And when Allah raises someone, no test, no enemy, and no opinion can pull them down. In this video, we're uncovering 7 powerful signs that prove you are one of the chosen ones, and why people only recognized your spiritual rank after they tried to test it. This is Wisdom of the Prophets, and your divine truth begins now. Lesson 1. They tried to shake you, but you stood firm. There was a time they looked at you and assumed you were fragile, easy to bend, easy to break. They thought a little pressure, a few words, a bit of isolation would be enough to destroy your spirit. They tried to shake your heart with betrayal, rejection, and doubt, expecting you to fall apart like everyone else. But what they didn't know is that you were never standing on their approval. You were rooted in something far greater. While they plotted, you prayed. While they whispered, you wept before Allah. While they tested you, you were being trained by the most merciful. Every hardship they threw at you became a ladder to climb closer to your Lord. You didn't respond with pride or vengeance. You responded with patience and dignity. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strength wrapped in sabr. They saw your calmness and mistook it for helplessness, but deep down they began to sense something they couldn't explain. Why weren't you breaking? Why did peace still follow you? That's when it hit them. Your strength wasn't natural. It was spiritual. You were protected, guided, and strengthened by the one who sees hearts, not appearances. And while they tried to shake your foundation, they only revealed it, that you were standing firm on the unshakable ground of faith, planted by Allah, watered by hardship, and raised by divine purpose. Lesson 2. Their tests exposed your light. They didn't test you to see your strength. They tested you to prove your weakness. They wanted to see you fold under pressure, to react with anger, to lose control. They poked at your patience, questioned your intentions, and tried to provoke your emotions. But they underestimated the depth of your soul. What they didn't realize is that Allah had already prepared you through silent struggles and lonely nights. Your sabr wasn't born in front of them. It was cultivated in private moments of dua and sujood. So when their test came, you didn't react, you reflected. You didn't fight fire with fire, you rose above it. And in doing so, you revealed something they were never meant to see, your light. That inner nur, the one that only comes from a heart connected to Allah, began to shine through every trial. Your calmness became unsettling to them. Your silence more powerful than their words. Your refusal to respond with hate confused them. They tried to expose your flaws, but Allah flipped their plan. Instead of humiliation, He revealed elevation. Instead of weakness, He made your resilience visible. The very trial they intended to break you became the moment your essence was exposed. And in that moment, the people around you began to feel something they couldn't explain, a quiet strength, a sacred glow. They may not have believed in your value before, but now they saw it clearly. Their tests didn't destroy you. They exposed your light for the world to witness. Lesson 3. You didn't break, you transformed. They thought they had you figured out, that if life pushed you hard enough, you would break like everyone else. They assumed that the pain would ruin you, that the betrayal would shut you down, that the loneliness would hollow you out. But what they didn't understand is that you were never in their hands. You were in Allah's hands. And Allah does not let His servants fall apart without a purpose. You didn't break, you transformed. The pain they sent your way didn't destroy your soul, it activated your strength. When they turned their backs, you turned your face to the Qibla. When they wounded you with words, you healed with zikr. When they wanted you to lose your way, you found it, on the prayer mat, under the night sky, whispering your heartbreak to the one who truly listens. Every hardship became a divine tool of purification. Every tear became a seed of elevation. You let go of what was never written for you, and in doing so, you began to walk lighter, clearer, stronger. The silence they thought was your weakness became your sanctuary. The loneliness they used against you became your meeting place with your Lord. And when you emerged from that darkness, you weren't just healed, you were reborn. Your priorities changed, your soul matured. Your heart softened in the right ways and hardened in the right places. You let go of needing approval, of chasing validation, and instead, you chased purpose. You were no longer the person they hurt. You were the person Allah raised. The pain didn't break you, it introduced you to your real self. And that version of you, that was Allah's plan all along. They tried to write your ending, but Allah rewrote your beginning. You didn't break, you transformed. Lesson 4. They underestimated your connection with Allah. They judged you by your silence. They assumed your calmness was weakness, that your quietness was insecurity, that your humility was a lack of strength. They looked at you through the lens of the dunya and failed to see what was happening in the unseen. They thought you had no one behind you because they didn't see the one above you. They didn't know about your relationship with Allah. They didn't know that every time life pushed you down, you didn't run to people, you ran to prayer. Every time they made you feel small, you stood tall in sujud. While they were busy plotting and mocking, you were busy seeking refuge with the one who controls all hearts. You never needed to shout your worth because your worth was written by the King of Kings. And when your silence confused them, it wasn't because you had nothing to say. It was because you had already said it all to your Lord. They couldn't understand how someone who was excluded, mistreated, and ignored still carried peace in their heart. They couldn't figure out why their insults didn't shake you, why their rejection didn't destroy you. But the truth is, they never knew the source of your strength. They saw your exterior and forgot to ask what was sustaining you from within. You were never standing on ego. You were standing on iman. You were being held up by countless du'as, secret istighfar, and moments when you cried so deeply in the night that the angels themselves bore witness. They saw someone who looked alone, but you were never alone. Every heartbreak brought you closer to Allah. Every betrayal pushed you deeper into His remembrance. Every time someone disappointed you, your attachment to the Creator grew stronger. You were being spiritually rewired through hardship, rebuilt not with pride, but with tawakkul. And that's what they couldn't measure. They couldn't measure your faith. They couldn't quantify your trust in Allah. They couldn't see the way your soul lit up during Quran recitation, or how your tears during prayer were washing away every ounce of pain. And because they couldn't see it, they assumed it wasn't there. That was their mistake. They underestimated you because they based your strength on what they could see, but Allah was strengthening you in ways that were invisible until He chose to reveal them. And when He did, it shook them. When you stood back up after everything they tried to do to you, when you smiled again, healed again, succeeded again, they realized you weren't operating on your own power. You were being carried, you were being protected, you were being guided. This connection with Allah gave you clarity they never had. While they were lost in distraction, you found direction. While they were chasing attention, you were chasing contentment. While they were scheming in public, you were crying in private. And that's where victory was written for you. Because true power doesn't come from popularity, it comes from purity. And the purest souls are often the ones hidden away, connected to Allah in the quiet hours of the night. The ones who don't show off their pain but turn it into prayer. The ones who don't seek revenge but rise with resilience. That's who you are, and that's why their words didn't define you. Their rejection didn't derail you. Their silence didn't stop you. Because the one who never leaves, the one who hears the cries no one else hears, He was always with you. And that was more than enough. So let them underestimate you. Let them judge the surface. Because the more they overlook you, the more Allah is elevating you. And when the time comes, the same people who doubted your strength will witness it with their own eyes. Not because you proved it to them, but because Allah revealed it through you. They underestimated your connection with Allah. And in doing so, they underestimated the one thing that made you unstoppable. Lesson 5. Their schemes only unveiled your strength. They didn't come to test you, they came to trap you. With manipulation, gossip, lies, and whispers, They wove their schemes behind your back, thinking you'd never survive the damage. They wanted to see you fall. They wanted to be the reason you gave up, doubted yourself, lost your path. But what they didn't understand was that their schemes were never stronger than Allah's plan. You weren't just protected, you were being prepared. While they were busy plotting your downfall, Allah was using their actions to unveil a strength inside you that even you didn't fully realize yet. At first you were confused. Why did they do this to you? What did you ever do to deserve their envy, their betrayal, their attempts to sabotage your peace? But over time you realized it wasn't personal. It was spiritual. Their souls were disturbed by your light, your peace, your discipline, and your resilience. You didn't ask to be tested this way, but every attempt they made to break you was only exposing the power Allah had placed within you. Their plots didn't paralyze you, they purified you. They sharpened your instincts, elevated your patience, and forced you to rely fully on Allah. They expected you to be angry, bitter, or filled with revenge, but you chose silence. You chose dignity. You chose dua. And in doing so, you confused them. They couldn't understand why nothing they did worked, why their gossip didn't destroy your name, why their betrayal didn't break your heart, why their lies didn't stop your progress. It's because your foundation was spiritual, not social. You didn't build your life on their approval. You built it on your relationship with Allah. That's why every scheme failed. Because Allah says in the Quran, they plan and Allah plans. And Allah is the best of planners. Surah Al-Anfal 8:30. With every plot they made, Allah gave you more wisdom. With every attempt to silence you, Allah gave you a louder presence. And with every door they tried to close, Allah opened one you never expected. Their attacks became your elevation. Their envy became your evidence. And their traps became the very platform Allah used to showcase the strength they tried to bury. What they didn't realize is that every hardship you faced only refined your character. It taught you sabr when you were boiling with emotion. It taught you humility when you could have responded with pride. It taught you tawakkul when you had no idea what was coming next. You didn't become strong by accident. You were sculpted through fire, forged by trials, molded through pain. Their schemes were not your downfall. They were your revelation. And now they're witnessing a version of you that they never wanted to see. One that is unshakable, focused, blessed, and elevated. You didn't have to fight back or prove anything. Allah did it for you. He made your resilience visible. He made your peace unexplainable. He made your journey undeniable. So if you ever feel angry about what they tried to do, remind yourself, their plots were just tools in Allah's hands, and He used them to bring out the version of you that was always meant to rise. What they meant for harm, Allah used for your growth. What they thought would destroy you became the very thing that revealed your spiritual rank. They tried to bury you, but didn't realize you were a seed. And now that you've grown, nothing can stop what Allah has written for you. Their schemes didn't weaken you. They unveiled your true strength. Lesson 6. They felt the barakah around you. They may not have understood it. They may have never said it out loud. But one thing they couldn't deny was that something about you felt different. They couldn't explain why they felt peace in your presence, or why your words seemed to hit deeper than others. You didn't walk into rooms to be seen, but somehow people noticed you. You didn't raise your voice to gain attention, but your silence carried weight. You didn't show off your blessings, but people could sense you were walking with something they didn't have. That something was barakah, divine presence, unseen strength, a glow, not made by the world, but gifted by the one who controls it. From the outside, you weren't the wealthiest, you weren't the most connected, you weren't the one constantly in the spotlight, but you had something rare: contentment, grace, quiet power. You carried light not in your hands, but in your heart, and they felt it. In every room you entered, in every conversation you had, in every moment of difficulty you handled with patience, they felt something sacred hovering around you. Some admired it, some were humbled by it, and others, they were deeply disturbed by it. Because barakah can't be bought, copied, or competed with. It's the fingerprint of Allah on your soul, and no worldly effort can manufacture it. They tested you. ignored you, talked about you behind your back. And yet, nothing seemed to stop your growth. You weren't loud about your struggles, but you bloomed in silence. You didn't beg for attention, but you were honored unexpectedly. You didn't ask for validation, but somehow your name was spoken in places you never thought you'd reach. That's barakah. It's not just about success, it's about divine multiplication. It's when a small deed turns into great reward, when a short prayer opens a huge door, when a little patience brings incredible peace. You weren't chasing success, you were chasing sincerity, and that sincerity attracted divine help. You see, barakah shows up in many forms. Sometimes it's in your time, how you get more done in fewer hours. Sometimes it's in your words, how a small reminder touches someone's heart for a lifetime. Sometimes it's in your presence, how people feel calm, safe, and understood just by being near you. And sometimes it's in your absence, how people feel the void when you're gone, how your silence speaks louder than their noise. That kind of barakah isn't random. It comes from Allah, and it rests in the hearts of those who put Him first. While they chased applause, you chased Allah's approval. While they competed for status, you competed in patience and prayer. While they boasted about their blessings, you quietly thanked your Lord for the little you had, and that little became more. Because Allah does not forget those who remember Him, you didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Your character did it for you. Your resilience in trials, your mercy in response to hatred, your calm in the face of chaos, all of it carried a fragrance. And barakah is just that, a spiritual fragrance. The soul recognizes it even if the eyes don't. They thought you were too soft, but softness wrapped in sincerity becomes unbreakable. They thought you were alone, but you had the companionship of the Most High. They thought you were easy to dismiss, but Allah elevated you in the hearts of others without needing permission from anyone. That's what barakah does. It turns pain into purification. It turns isolation into transformation. It turns trials into triumph, quietly, gently, and with divine grace. Even those who envied you couldn't explain why their efforts to ruin your peace failed. Even those who competed with you didn't understand why your journey was still blessed, even without their approval. That's because what you carried wasn't from you, it was from Allah. Your sabr, your tawakkul, your du'as in secret, your sincerity in private, they became light on your face and strength in your walk. And even when you didn't speak of your struggles, people still felt your elevation. They didn't know the nights you cried to your Lord. They didn't see the moments of brokenness that shape your soul. But what they did see, what they couldn't ignore, was the light that followed you after. Barakah makes the smallest things shine the brightest, and Allah gives it to those whose hearts are pure, whose intentions are sincere, and whose reliance is on Him alone. You didn't get here by chance. You were carried here, gently, silently, divinely. And now those who once doubted you are forced to wonder how you've come so far, how you still smile, how you still walk with peace in a world so chaotic. They may not say it, but they know. Your secret isn't talent. It's tawakkul. Your gift isn't influence. It's intimacy with your Lord. So let them wonder, let them watch. You don't need their applause. You don't even need their understanding, because barakah speaks louder than any validation this world can offer. And when Allah places it upon you, no one can take it away. They felt it, even in silence, even in denial. They felt the barakah around you, and that's something they'll never forget. Lesson 7. They realized too late you were a servant of Ar-Rahman. They overlooked you. They underestimated you. They mistook your patience for weakness and your silence for defeat. To them, you were someone they could ignore, someone they could mock, someone who didn't matter. They didn't know that your quiet strength was not yours alone. It was placed there by Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. What they saw as passivity was actually divine restraint. What they assumed was fragility was unshakable faith. They pushed you, tested you, doubted you, but you didn't break. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't turn to the world to fix what the world had broken. You turned to Allah, and that single choice, to put your trust in Him, changed everything. While they plotted, you prayed. While they mocked, you remembered. While they schemed, you stayed still in the storm, anchored by the mercy of your Lord. You were never fighting their battles, You were being elevated through them. Every wound made in your heart was seen by the one who heals. Every tear shed in sujud was recorded by angels. You were being trained, not punished. Shaped, not broken. They thought they were pulling you down, but Allah was using it to raise you. They didn't see the nights you cried to Him, the verses you clung to, the moments you let go of everything and said, Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me. And while they were busy judging you, something began to shift. You started to rise, not with pride, not with arrogance, but with grace. The grace that only Allah gives His sincere servants. You found peace while they expected chaos. You kept walking while they waited for your downfall. And eventually, the truth became too obvious to ignore. You weren't ordinary. You were someone being protected, guided, and strengthened by Ar-Rahman Himself. By the time they realized it, it was too late. Too late to undo the hurt. Too late to reverse their words. Too late to reclaim the respect they had refused to give. Because now the light of your journey was undeniable. You didn't just survive, you bloomed. You didn't just rise, you transformed. They began to see it in your peace, your purpose, your power. The very person they overlooked became the one they couldn't stop noticing. But you didn't rise to prove them wrong. You rose because you served the one who always makes things right. And now they know. You were never weak. You were never small. You were never alone. You were walking with Ar-Rahman. And a servant of the most merciful doesn't need to shout. Their light speaks for itself. You were never ordinary. They just couldn't see the strength Allah placed within you. Every hardship, every silent tear, every moment of patience was writing your elevation. Now they realize what you always knew deep down. You were chosen by Ar-Rahman. So keep moving with faith, knowing that your path is guided by divine purpose. And if this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their worth, and subscribe to Wisdom of the Prophets for more heartfelt reminders that awaken your soul and strengthen your connection with Allah. Your journey is just beginning.